Hi, Analisa Six here with the Lady of Leisure and the Sober Curator to bring you the April 2024 horoscope for the zodiac sign of Aquarius for sun and rising placements. There is something weird going on with my connection, and it's making me all not synced up with my words. I hope that maybe is better once it uploads. I don't know. Anyways, hi, Aquarius. How are you guys? Welcome to April. It's April 1st, and we we start this month off with a bang with Mercury stationing retrograde at 27 degrees of Aries. And we're currently in Aries season. We've got an Aries party going on in the sky. It's been happening, kind of for the past month. We've had a lot of energy in Aries. The sun's in Aries, the north node's in Aries, Chiron's in Aries, Mercury is in Aries, and the area of the chart that's hitting for the Aquarius horoscope is the third house of communication, which is the house that Mercury traditionally rules. And so this is a little bit challenging because Mercury is going to be retrograde in your house of communication in a sign that is very intense, explosive, volatile, reactive, irritable, impulsive, impatient, arrogant, dominating. Those are all of the potential negatives that could come out of this Mercury retrograde in Aries for all of us, not just you, Aquarius, but it is hitting in your house of communication. So you might be on the receiving end of some of that energy. You also might be the one that can come off that way. And I think let's talk about the positives of Mercury in Aries, not necessarily retrograde, but just in Aries. Aries energy is all about expressing the identity in an authentic way to the self, relationship to self. Mercury in Aries is a really positive energy for building confidence around how you advocate for yourself, how you communicate effectively and directly. And, if you are somebody that's inclined towards getting pushed around, Mercury in Aries is like, you're not pushing me around. You're not telling me what to do. I am my own authority. I am my own leader. Like I'm the one that decides what I want to do and what I say. So it could be a really positive energy for learning how to advocate for yourself. Fight for yourself. It's a fight energy. And some of us need that. If we're in a relationship dynamic that we need to get out of and we need to advocate for ourselves, Mercury and Aries might give you that voice to do that. If we're at a job that we are, ready to leave and we need to stick it to the man maybe and be honest and say like, hey, I'm not taking this shit anymore. Mercury and Aries might help us do that. But we have to be really mindful because just because you feel a need to stand up for yourself or advocate for yourself, not every situation people deserve to be on the receiving end of anger or reactivity. One of the big things that I've learned over the years is that nothing justifies somebody having an inappropriate, explosive, or abusive reaction to you. Obviously, like I'm talking about day to day. I'm not talking about war or, abusive relationships where you have to like fight to get out. What I'm talking about is we all have ways of triggering each other. And it doesn't necessarily justify being rude or mean to somebody or reactive to somebody just because you're triggered. You are responsible for your own reaction to things, right? Like you can't control what triggers you, but you can control how you respond to it and how you react to it. And so this Mercury retrograde, that's a big theme for you, is how do you work through getting triggered by something and how do you work through how you respond and react to it? I think the biggest thing that people have to work on in a lot of relationship dynamics is learning how to be honest and straightforward and confront something you're feeling with someone without being explosive, and I think that a lot of us have to work on that. I've definitely been guilty of having a big emotional reaction when I'm hurt. And I think another thing too is the person that we're experiencing this communication dynamic with able to listen. I think one of the things that ramps me up in my communication is if I've said something, a handful of times and I'm not being heard, then I amp up. It's like if I wasn't heard or, people weren't listening to me the first 5 times I said something, by the 6th time, I'm mad and I'm yelling or I'm like, asserting it in a really aggressive way because it wasn't heard the first 5 times, and so that's also something like, is the person on the receiving end able to actively listen to us too? So those are big themes for you, Aquarius, during the Mercury retrograde. We also start out April with a lot of energy in Pisces, and the area that this is hitting in the chart for you is your finances. We've got Mars here, Saturn here, Neptune here, and Venus here. We've had them here for a while. Mars is going to be here for the entire month of April, which is not necessarily the most fun energy because Mars oftentimes will, have us spending money in ways that aren't necessarily productive. It can be if we're applying it in the right ways, but in Pisces, it's almost like these things come up that we weren't really planning on spending money on. And we could also just be irresponsible with money with Mars and Pisces. Maybe it's more fun to spend money on things that we just are getting instant gratification from than things that are actually promoting growth and stability. So you just have to be mindful with that. There might be things that come up that are fun, that you spiritually or emotionally need to fill that, like, I don't think there's anything wrong. Like, I'm going through a lot and I've been, spending money that I probably shouldn't on going to movies, or not all the time. I think I've been to one movie, but like little things like that for my mental health, because it's not positive for me to just sit at home and be kind of in my head. And so you have to figure that out. It's like, what is the goal of you spending this money? And is it going to be positive? You can still pay your bills, like go do something fun. But if it's going to put you in dire straits, like maybe it's not a good idea. Venus is going to be leaving this area of the chart early on in the month. So April 4th and 5th, she's going to be moving into Aries and joining the Aries party for most of April. I like her here because I think that she's trying to help, navigate some of this Mercury retrograde in a more constructive way. We do have to be really mindful to not be overly self-oriented in ways that hurt others, but it is really positive if you've had a lot of your energy going outwards, that, she's kind of having us do more of that inner work and focusing more on ourselves in ways that might be more constructive. April 8th, we have our solar eclipse at 19 degrees of Aries, and that's hitting in the chart in that same area of communication, and it's conjunct Chiron. So for where it's hitting in Aquarius, there's a lot of Aquarius people during this eclipse that might get into it with some people or have some really hard mental health days. And so what do? What are your tools that you have on board to help you navigate and sort that stuff out? How are you working on your communication? What is your conflict resolution like? Like, this is a really positive time for you to be reflecting on that and working on it actively. Do you get your feelings easily hurt? Are you somebody that's being run by your trauma and your triggers right now? And if so, how do you work on it? Or do you need to, become more confident in advocating for yourself? I've known so many Aquarius people that are people pleasers that I could see this Aries cycle being really positive for you to work on not people pleasing and setting boundaries, but knowing how to do it in a way that doesn't blow everything up, which is hard because if you have a learned history with people where they walk all over you and they're taking advantage of you because of that, sometimes, like I said, if you've said something, if you've tried to set a boundary 5 times, sometimes it's the time when you're like angry or rude that people actually finally listen. And it's unfortunate when those things happen, but I think that those are learning opportunities for you right now. Like, what about you not setting boundaries in your day-to-day life is creating more of this need to kind of be more aggressive or assertive in certain ways to finally be heard, eventually, because that stuff will just build up, right? And, some of you Aquarians who are older, who might be more experienced in life, might not resonate with some of that. I feel like I tend to talk to people more, like when I'm doing these, I think of people more within like the 24-year-old to like 45-year-old range. That seems to be more of like my demographic. But if you're older, you might have a lot of those communication patterns sorted, but you might have this period B where there's a lot of repressed anger or hurt that comes up for you that you're now having to acknowledge and figure out how to work through in a constructive way. We have the sun moving out of Aries and into Taurus on April 19th. And so that area is actually going to highlight the area of the chart for Aquarius that rules home and family. And so this is a really good time to kind of get into this comfort zone, kind of homey feeling that feels really nurturing and good, connecting to your kitchen, cooking, doing different recipes, also organizing things, cleaning things. Spring cleaning might be something that you feel really inclined to do more around that time of the month. We also, shortly after the sun moves into Taurus, we have a full moon at 4 degrees of Scorpio on April 23rd. That's going to be in the house of career. So changes within your career or your work structure. This could be, kind of you emotionally letting go or moving away from something that you've been doing at work that isn't serving you anymore. This could also be a time where you're really thinking about things that you want to manifest into your life when it comes to work-life balance, because the sun's going to be in that 4th house of home. And then, the moon's going to be in that 10th house of career. So work-life balance is a theme. Also, the way that we relate to our home structure in relation to our work structure, which, is work-life balance, but in a deeper way, what things do we need to let go and kind of transmute in life around those things. We also have, shortly after that, Mercury is going to be stationing direct at 15 degrees of Aries. And so hopefully whatever turbulence this Mercury retrograde cycle brought up for you, hopefully you're in a position now where you feel like you've got a handle on it a little bit more, and you kind of know what you need to say and do to kind of get things moving forward in the direction that you've been wanting to kind of take them. Mercury retrogrades are reflect review times. And in the 3rd house, we're reflecting and reviewing our communication, our perspectives, and how we communicate our needs and our wants in that sign of Aries. And so, hopefully by the time Mercury stations direct, you're feeling more clear on what some of those things need to be. And less people pleasy about it. I think that I've had to work through a lot of guilt and shame around what my needs are. In relationship dynamics, like I'll feel guilty when I feel like I, am unable to give in some way that I think I should be able to give, or if I feel like I need something in a relationship dynamic that I'm not getting, it's hard for me. Like by the time I'm advocating or asking for it, I've had to work through a lot of guilt around that. And I've been told, that my needs are too much. I've been told that I am intense and that I have, a lot of communication dynamics that I need to, work on, or that are a lot for other people. And so it's when you've had an experience where somebody that you love, like a family member or a lover or a friend, tell you that you're too much, it becomes really triggering and really hard for you to feel like you can be honest and vulnerable and open and advocate for yourself, because you don't want to be a burden. But what I've learned is that the people that say you're too much aren't your people, because the people that love you are going to show up for you, and they're going to be honest with you about what they can and can't do for you, but they're not going to tell you that you're too much. They might say, that's a lot for me. I don't have the capacity to give that to you right now, but I love you and you deserve that, and you need to find a way to get that, even if they can't be the person to give it. And I think that's the difference, is telling somebody that they're too much isn't appropriate, but being honest to somebody about what you can and can't give is a good boundary to set for yourself. I have friends that have gone through really abusive relationships and they're leaving a relationship, and I wasn't in a place in my life where I could hold space for that to the extent that they needed. So I held space to the extent I knew how. And then I advocated for them to get the support and help in other arenas that, are more supportive. I'm not a therapist, I'm an astrologer, so I can hold space for a lot of people in a lot of those ways. But then there's a point where I don't know, go to a specialist for that. I'm not a specialist in anything else but astrology. You know what I mean? I can tell you what the planets are doing, but beyond that, like, I've got some life experience, but, I'm still figuring this stuff out too. So I think that, those are things that you might be navigating, if you are somebody that falls more in like those people pleasy arenas, or if you feel shame or guilt around asking for what you want or what you need in your life. with people. And I think it is, you know, the Venus and Aries journey throughout this month, there is a like, how do we become self-sufficient in certain ways where we don't need to kind of do that dynamic with certain people. I think Aquarius people are so community driven that it's easy to kind of want your community or your friends to fulfill a certain level of fulfillment for you. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I need a lot of community. I think we all do as humans. We're social animal. But I think that, you know, Venus and Aries is here too to kind of say, like, how do you do that work on yourself independently as well and not put it on other people to show up for you or do that work for you, if that makes sense. Venus is going to be leaving Aries at the end of the month and entering that Taurus party on the 29th. And she's going to be entering that space of home and family. And Venus here is great. This is a great time to connect to your home, connect to your family through traditions, through food, things that bring you a sense of comfort and nostalgia. It's a really positive time for that. All righty, Aquarius, I think I spent some good time with you. I feel like normally I don't do your horoscope as long because I'm pretty tired by the end of it, but I'm knocking these out early today and it feels good. If you liked this video, please hit the like, subscribe button. And if you want to book a reading with me, email me at the email that's in the description box. And I will see you all next month. Good luck.